So our speakers today need no introduction, which makes my job pretty easy. We have Dora Puig from Luke's Living Realty, Fredrik Eklund of the Eklund Gomes team at Douglas Elliman,
Make a point.
and Senada Adžem of the Senada Adžem team at Douglas Elliman. So we've obviously covered the frenzy that has been the ultra-luxury market in South Florida. It's died down a little, but demand still exists, and luxury sales continue to set records. Amazon billionaire Jeff Bezos, who we've all heard about today already, is moving to Miami. What are you all seeing now compared to 2021 and 2022? Who wants to get started?
Can you hear me?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, guys. Hi, Resi brokers.
Yeah, the audio is a little, you got to be quiet, okay? Do you want to start?
Hello, everyone. I'm Dora Puig, founder, principal broker of Luke's Living Realty. I want to thank Real Deal for inviting me here next to these real estate rock stars from Boca and Fred from the whole planet. What's different and what's the same? In terms of the super luxury market in Miami and Miami Beach, standing inventory that is done in prime locations with good architecture, with good interior design, is still selling at the same price or higher. So yes, the market has slowed down in terms of absorption of sales because we have less inventory, but anything that's done and beautiful, ready to move in, is breaking records every week. So pricing is set, reset, and holding. I think what's different in single-family homes, I think land with plans has gotten soft, and I think distressed condominiums has gotten soft because I think people are more mindful of their time, and they don't want to jump into construction for 4 years. So,
Or longer.
or longer, in Miami and Miami Beach. Cities are clogged up with permits.
I don't even think it's, well, soft maybe, but it's maybe normalizing. Can you hear me? The pricing and the pace of things have normalized. I mean, we always compare ourselves, I do, and these markets to 21, which was an amazing year, 22 was an amazing year. Okay, so we have 7 or 8% interest rate now. If somebody would have told me that the market would be this good, 3 years ago at 7 or 8% interest rates, I would have said, no, it won't, it would crash. I think it's healthy that we're normalizing because it gives us a little bit of a pause maybe in the resale market before we keep going up. I'm super bullish on Miami, on South Florida. That's why I'm sitting here. I'm quite obsessed, I feel like, and you guys are so lucky. I envy you that you've been here for longer than me and that you have in many ways more knowledge than I do about this market. But I want to add to what you said about the softness in the resale market because, and maybe I live in a bubble, but in the new development arena where I operate.
You're jumping ahead, Fredrik.
Oh.
But that's okay.
No, I just want to say that I don't see softness. And I see, as design is becoming more elevated in the new development arena, the prices are being escalating. And now for the first time in Miami, we have projects like the Shore Club, which I'm part of selling, where we're getting $5,500, $6,000 a foot blended. And for the first time, we're seeing this kind of, if you build it, they will come. And we haven't had projects like that before. And I just think that's a good example of what's coming. The demand is just now, I feel, beginning in South Florida for buyers. Internationally, we've seen that for a long time, but specifically, New York, Chicago, LA, some of the other troubled markets.
You obviously recently moved. Can you talk a little bit about why you moved to, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just love Miami. I don't want to be emotional up here on stage, but I've been moving around a little bit, and we applied to this amazing school here, and we got in, and I have twins, and there's so much beauty. And maybe I sound like a newbie, which I am, but I wake up we live on the sand, and the sun rises, and the dog, and the kids, and it's so green, and it's actually very little traffic. I know you are all numbed out, so you're complaining. But let me tell you, if you lived in LA or New York for 25 years like me, that's traffic. And there's so much to do here in the restaurants and the nightlife. It's a really beautiful balance for me because I'm such a crazy hustler and I like to work and sell, sell, sell. And LA, I don't want to bash LA, but it wasn't for me. It's just a little isolating, a little slower, and a little... In New York, it can be too much. I was there 3 days earlier this week, and I was working, and I got on that plane, and I landed in Miami, and I'm like, I'm home. And you can have everything in Miami, and I really think we're really early on. I think we're in diapers. No, we maybe start dancing in Miami. You know, we have in South Florida, we have a long way to go in pricing. I really believe that this is a forced pause because of interest rates, which will come down next year, 2 years, who knows? And when that happens, there's going to be no shortage of price escalations. You'll see.
Dora, you also spoke a little bit about how buyers are looking for finished product, land with plans is soft, distressed condos are soft. Can you talk a little bit more about how buyers' demands have shifted and in what ways has it gotten more difficult to close some of these deals?
I think deals are getting a little bit more difficult to close because buyers feel that they can negotiate. They're dotting their I's, crossing their T's. But when they make the decision, they execute and they close. And again, on finished inventory, we're seeing record prices every day, both in the condominium and single-family home market. I think security is a big, big issue right now in the world. And I think they're valuing that with gated islands for single-family home. Fisher Islands skyrocketed, which is one of my playgrounds, one of my favorite places. And I saw during the pandemic, we went on a SpaceX in sales and sold out the last building, Palazzo de la Luna, in a year, about 15 months. And the security and the privacy was really the main element. And I think people, again, are being mindful of wellness and their time in their life. So I think the pandemic brought that about. So I think security is one of the biggest issues.
And Senada, you had mentioned that too, that you're seeing a lot more interest in gated communities and areas like that. Can you talk about what's kind of happening maybe in Boca Raton and some of the other areas that you work in?
Absolutely. So in Palm Beach County, what's interesting is that we went from irrational exuberance to like cautious optimism. And clients are definitely paying some record-breaking prices. However, you have to provide them with what's really important to them. Number one, their children are their most important asset, right? So proximity to schools is of paramount importance. We saw that with celebrities like Messi and Giselle, who actually made a decision on their home purchase based on the proximity to American Heritage and Pinecrest, respectively. Number two, security and privacy, absolutely. We have a community in Delray Beach, Stone Creek Ranch, where the values had gone up dramatically over the past 5 years. And one of the interesting facts about it is that they have armed security, not that we need it, but it's nice. They rove around 24/7. They make sure your family is fine. If you need anything, they're there for you. And a lot of billionaires actually have moved to this, west of Delray, small 32-home community, beautiful estates, of course, but they just feel safe over there. And lastly, what we're seeing is everyone wants lavish amenities. They want to be pampered. They want their health and wellness to be considered. So what I'm seeing right now is if you have extraordinary amenities and you have, for instance, great organic materials, non-toxic paints, earth tones, really great quality materials in a way where you can provide them with a beautiful meditation garden. Everyone wants to feel like peace and tranquility, particularly in these days. So I think if you provide the right product, there are people who are willing to pay that extra premium to live there.
Wait, can I just add about feeling safe? I feel you guys are very spoiled because if you look at the two other big markets, New York and LA, it's very different. And I say that out of love to you guys and South Florida. And once again, going back to pricing and have the market soften. Is it peaking? Is it coming down and up? And I think while we're still early on in the evolution of what's happening here, I'm amazed. Everywhere I go, there are police cars. I mean, for the first time in my life, I'm not speeding. Like, I'm really mindful of how fast I drive. And I feel completely safe. Yes, there are gated communities, and for example, at Shell Bay, we have a gated 150 acres, incredible community. But overall, I feel like it's super, super safe. And when you go to New York and you go to LA and you see the issues that those two cities mainly have, and I'm not even going to mention San Francisco, you realize the value of what we have here.
I think also if you look at Fisher Island, right, Dora, and it's only accessible by ferry or by air. I mean, how have you seen pricing increase? How have you seen demand increase just on Fisher Island?
Well, pre-pandemic, the excellent private school it has pretty much changed the demographic of Fisher Island. I would say the average age there is 50 to 55 years old. And that brought a lot of young families.
What was it before?
I think it was older. It changed. It changed a lot. It brought a lot of young families to the island. Today, the school is so sought after. We sold condominiums to families just so they can get their kid in school. So to Senada's point, schools are so important. All of the schools in Miami are tapped out. They have wait lists all over the place. So that's something that Miami as a city has to really look at and just develop more top-notch schools to attract them to come to the city. And then the other thing that's happening on Fisher Island, that they're investing even further, and there's a further upgrade to all the amenities as a reaction to the younger families. For example, our tennis club, our racket club just signed Pura Vida, and they're going to be the name restaurant for the tennis center. We are building a second story on the beach club with wraparound views of the whole city. There's a European name restaurant coming there. So they're just expanding on that demographic shift to give them the amenities that they deserve and that they're paying for. Equity memberships went up as well, so they're trying to tighten it. So I think in 2-3 years, we're going to see the level of luxury as Palm Beach and pricing of Palm Beach on that island.
And the new developments on Fisher, what is the starting price?
The starting price for what?
New projects on Fisher Island.
Well, there's only 2 projects left. One is the Lynx Estates, which I am selling, and we have a bespoke collection of 10 houses, which we have 4 left. And they start at 30 to 50 million. And the 6 residences, which Related is building, our developer ASR sold the land to them. They're also the ones developing the amenities. They start at 18 million, 17, 18 million, up to 90 million. And once those 2 are sold out in 2 to 3 years, the sky's the limit on Fisher Island because we're offering everything that the market's asking for post-pandemic.
Senada, did you want to add something?
Yes, I thought it was interesting in that, in the beginning we saw so many tax refugees moving to Florida. And now we're seeing a lot of South Florida families moving, from south further north, and also big developers, many of whom are in attendance. They're looking into West Palm Beach and Delray Beach and Boca Raton. So it's been an interesting shift to see. And speaking of security, it is really important, but I feel like it's also a perception, not just like physical, concern. Sadly, I lived through a war in former Yugoslavia, so I know what actual physical danger looks like. But with our clients, it is an actual feeling, right? So it's almost if it's a perceived feeling where they want to feel comfortable and safe and tranquil. And again, going back, that's why I keep saying that like security kind of dovetails into these very meditative spaces and wellness spaces, because health is wealth, right? That's time and health you can't really buy. So people really want to feel that they're coming to Florida not just for taxes and lifestyle, they want to feel good.
Freddie, you had mentioned Shell Bay and Shore
You
Club.
call me Freddie.
Oh, is that okay?
That's cute.
People call you Freddie.
Nice. Nobody calls me Freddie.
Senada calls you Freddie.
I call you Freddie.
Okay. Sorry, okay.
Fredrik, I'm sorry. So you had mentioned new developments, Shore Club, Shell Bay. Can you talk about pricing there? How are sales doing?
How those projects are doing?
Yeah.
Extremely well. I cannot take credit. We have a big sales team, and Douglas Elliman, I'm fortunate to work with. Witkoff, of course, I call them the #1 developer in New York, and I don't say that lightly. Shore Club has been a big story of success. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but we're close to 75% sold at $5,500 a foot. What's interesting is that we never listed anything, and we don't plan to do that. That's all I can say, really. Shell Bay is a big success, too. It's such an interesting new idea. The golf course is now open. The tennis, the members are there. We're selling, I think we did $50 million the last 2 weeks. It took a minute in the beginning because we were not open for, the amenities were not done. But now when you can play and you can come and see it, and in the sales gallery, which is on site, and you have all the greenery, and you can see the 150 acres, and it's operational, you can have lunch. It's really incredible. We sold all 3 penthouses, and I think they're close to 3,000 a foot, or over 3,000 a foot, in an area, of course, that have not gotten that. And I always say, I'm not a golfer, but if you are, this is the place. It's like they can never build it again. They can never replicate it. It's the best, golf club to happen in Miami for the last 25 years, but maybe one in best in the country. And I think going back to what you were saying, and maybe you too, sorry, I go back to pricing because I'm really feeling really optimistic up here. On the beach, for example, where Shore Club is, they can supposedly only build 600 to 700 new condos, period, in Miami. And that's if they build on all the sites that they can build. So I'm thinking, my Rolodex, do I have 600 to 700 buyers alone, just me, that eventually in the next 5 to 10 years are going to move to Miami Beach for all the reasons, including taxes that we just mentioned? I say yes. So there's a shortage of inventory already. And you can, compare it to Central Park West or Central Park South maybe. And that's why I'm telling everybody, just buy now before it's too late. And then you can argue that $5,500 a foot is cheap, because 220 Central Park South by Robert Amestern was $10,000 or $12,000. And where would I want to be? I think I prefer Shore Club. So, yeah.
Are there any concerns with new developments about timelines, deliveries? Are your buyers asking questions just because of what's been going on with construction?
Yeah. Can I answer that, please? Yeah. I think it's extraordinarily important as to the credibility of the development team, the trust that the buyers have in that particular team, and also whether that developer has delivered on their promises in the past and now. And knowing that a lot of these buyers have to put down 40%, right? You need to know that that person, only the first 10% is bonded. You need to know that this team is going to deliver, and that they're going to do it exactly the way they promised and showed you on those beautiful renderings, even though there were disclaimers, and that they can trust us as the representative that this is what's going to happen. I have to say I'm really proud because I've been working with Alina Residences in Boca Raton with the Elad Group, and that was our first project, residential luxury project in Boca Raton, and we just are finishing phase 2. And at the beginning, people are like, we want to know about Elad, and we had to show them what Elad has done in New York and the success, and now we are getting like $1,500 a foot on the golf course, which is actually really good pricing. I know we're not getting you 40,000 per square foot yet, Freddie, but we're going to get there. Dora, you're in the 5,000, right? So
But I'm at 5,000.
yeah, we're catching up.
If you look at Miami Beach, how could pricing not hold and escalate? As Fredrik was saying, I won't call you Freddie. I'll do that privately.
Call me Freddie, please.
An interesting stat, if you look at all the new construction on the beach, there's about 6 or 7 new fabulous projects. You have the Paragon with Rem Koolhaas. You have the Shore Club with Robert Stern. Skidmore Owens is doing Rivage. The Surf Club has 3 different projects. Some were sold quietly. The Aman, 22 units.
And the Ritz
Kengo
Sagamore that nobody knows about. Oops.
There's 6 of those, right? If you add them up, it's roughly 350 units. It's nothing. 350 units is 1 tower downtown. So how could pricing not hold up with these amazing architects and design teams that are world-renowned? They're doing work in Dubai, they're doing work in New York, and now they're here in Miami. And the inventory is still low. It's still the same problem. The other project that's coming up that offers 232 units is 5 Park in South Beach, and that's doing incredibly well. I know the canopy section, I think, is sold out. So if you look at the total inventory of units coming online in the super luxury market, there's no way pricing's not going to hold up in this segment of the marketplace, in this price point.
Is the buyer demographic different for these new developments versus these ultra luxury homes?
I think the buyer demographic is pretty much American. Because of geopolitics in the world, I'm starting to see a little bit more of international people, clients coming from London, clients coming from other markets. And I see Latin America waking up a little bit. Brazilians are coming in a little bit, but it's predominantly New York, Chicago, California, and the Northeast corridor that I'm seeing. A lot of Canadians, Toronto.
I think the new development has, not to be competitive here with you two, but I think it has a leg up, if you will, because people right now want new. And if you look back at COVID and the lockdowns and whatnot, people were shying away from those buildings because it felt weird to be in a building and push the elevator button, whatever. And then the houses became very hot and went up like crazy in prices. And right now it's almost the opposite. People realized during COVID that construction, insurance, and it's just so annoying, and it takes longer and costs more, and people now want to move in. And for the first time with these buildings that she mentioned, you have the world-class design that we couldn't even get if we try to get that architect and pay for a remodel of a house. And in the coming years, I feel like this is going to even the pricing is going to appreciate higher in the new development than the houses, but I could be wrong.
What about in terms of branded residences? Do you see the value in all of these brands? Do you think that it does create value for a lot of these buyers?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's studies that we've done in the company that says it's 30% higher for branded residences. Of course, not all branded residences are the same, but I feel like the services, the amenities, the flag itself, of course, and then if there's a rental program or not can be important in the lower price ranges at least. It's super, super important. And it's like you said, it's a safety, it's a mentality, like I'm buying into something that's incredible. And going back to what you said, I just want to add, sorry I'm grabbing the microphone a lot today, is that financing is so important. There are projects that are sold out that might not get built because interest rates are so high, and when they did sell out 2 years ago, whatever, they undersold compared to what it is today, and the developers cannot even figure out how to finance it. So it's very, very important to work with a developer, of course, that have financing, but that is a good developer, can pull it all off. It's not easy.
You take the last wave of development, branded residences and 5-star hotel flags. Take a look at the Four Seasons Surf Club. Very little inventory. Sometimes you can't even find inventory. It's all off-market activity. They've been posting $5,000 and $6,000 a square foot for over 2 to 3 years already.
That's where
it's the norm there.
That's where the record is. Yeah, 5,800 closed.
Closed sales.
Yeah.
There's higher records already than that coming alongside. So I think 5-star hotel flags that connotate the quality that the project will have and branded residences are definitely adding to per square foot pricing, escalating it.
I also want to touch on the NAR lawsuit over buyers' commissions.
Ooh.
I know that some of you can't speak to, directly to it, but what are your thoughts on potential changes in the industry? How do you see it kind of long term?
Well, I think real estate commissions should go up.
Agreed. Ditto.
I'm serious. And by the way, I'm going to give away my tricks if you're an agent out there. When I go and sit down in front of a seller, I say I charge 7%. I mean, I'm really worth 10 because I usually double or triple the developers or the seller's profit. But it's very important to start negotiating from a 7, and then you can go down. All jokes aside, what no one has said so far in the press, at least, and no one seems to talking about, is that going back to new development again, this energy that's happening right now in the industry is not at all, I hope and think, affecting new development. Because as a developer, I'm allowed, of course, to offer any buyer's agent any kind of commission that I want. And once again, going back to what I said, that the new development arena is going to have a better few years now with all this change than the resale market. As a new development agent, you're going to go take your clients to the developers over maybe a resale of a house that you have to charge your own buyers and maybe an hourly rate or whatever it's going to end up happening. So just put it out there.
First of all, do all of you even understand the result of the lawsuit? I still have to get a clear understanding of it. What I read into it, it doesn't really apply in the luxury market. Why? Because every time I go to a listing appointment, I am a free shot for the seller to negotiate the commissions. And they do, depending on the price point. So the higher the price, the lower your commission's going to go. And the seller, you could say no, we work for 6%. And the seller has every prerogative to say no. And I have every prerogative not to take the listing. So how could they say that we don't get negotiated or that we're setting commission rates and we're forcing it? The market organically sets commission rates, just like it organically sets pricing. We don't set pricing. You overprice a listing. You all have been victims of overpriced listing with huge marketing, and it's always your fault for not selling it. And it's an overpriced listing. So the market organically is going to do that. So I don't understand the results of that unless it applies to other parts of America and different segments of the market.
Right, it would be market-wide. Senada.
Yeah, I'd love to add to that. So we're not attorneys, obviously, so we cannot comment on the legal merits of this particular lawsuit. But as real estate professionals, we can actually, I think, provide some insights in what that means to our industry. But I just wanted to ask a quick question. So by show of hands, can you please tell me who here may be a member of the NAR or is a hardworking real estate broker, professional? Let me see. A lot, right? Wow. Thank you so much for that. So what I find fascinating is that you just see how many real estate professionals there are here in attendance, and also what an impact this particular lawsuit can have on our industry as a whole, right? So what's at the gist of it, this is what I gathered, is basically how the buyer's commission will be paid, right? So this lawsuit in Missouri alleged that the NAR, many of us here are members of the NAR, is basically like a cartel fixing prices, and sellers can't negotiate. As Dora said, sellers definitely negotiate in South Florida and New York. And sellers always have had the right to negotiate the commissions. So what I find fascinating is, as a highlight, is that you have this major lawsuit, right, saying that sellers should not have to pay for the buyer's agent commission. And there's still a lot of what ifs, and we can't go into all of that. But I just find it interesting in that, like, the plaintiff's attorneys, I feel, try to solve a problem that didn't exist. We've used this,
Exactly.
right?
Yes, yes.
They're solving a problem that didn't exist because the consumers and our profession here have found that the system has worked for decades, right? And it's worked for so long, and particularly coming off of the pandemic highs where a lot of our clients made a lot of equity and money in their home, and we were able to guide them and help them with that. I think it's an interesting timing, how this is all going to play out. I can tell you, like, from Douglas Elliman's perspective, Douglas Elliman was not involved in this lawsuit, but there are additional potential lawsuits, and NAR is going to fight this. All these companies are going to fight this. It's going to take a very long time. However, it still has certain impact, I think, on our profession, as in, transparency. Also, what's going to happen to the buyers? Like, if the buyers say, let's say if the buyers may have to pay for buyer's agent commission now, and they say, let me save a few bucks, let me go it at my own. I'm making like one of the largest financial decisions in my life. I'm not going to use Katya here. What's going to happen? They may end up buying a lemon, and then it's going to cost them a lot more money to fix, right? So I think as real estate professionals, we have to keep adding value to our buyers. We need to show them who we are, what we bring to the table, our expertise, our level of knowledge, what we have to add. And I will tell you, please paper everything, meaning get a buyer-broker agreement. That's your task from now on, and educate your buyers, and just keep an eye out on this. I think it's going to be many, many years before anything happens, but in the meantime, at least there are many things that we can do individually to continue building that trust with our buyers. So thank you for that.
Are your clients asking about it?
Yes, the sellers are asking how is that going to impact them. And a lot of our sellers are like, hey, the market has gotten a little tougher, so instead of reducing the commission, I want to offer a little more. Like, they want to offer incentives. And they just want to get educated. I think, there's so much confusion and anxiety related to this issue. So I think it's just imperative to kind of boil it down in terms of what that means to sellers and buyers, and most importantly to us. I love living in America, the land of the free, and the capitalist system where you actually get paid for your hard work. And, no one wants to work, right, for free. I hope not.
Katherine, nothing's going to change. That lawsuit is going to change nothing, because it's just a number. And when you're negotiating, it's going to do what Senada said: increase buyer mistakes. Purchasers are not going to be as educated in their negotiation and their selection of the property. And then it's going to cost the buyer 3%. So it's just a number. The ultimate selling price will end up in the same place because they'll offer 3% less. It's just a number of negotiation. So I don't think it's going to change a thing.
I think, the one thing it does change already, which I think is healthy, which you said, is that, maybe it was you, that you have to give the seller an option, and you have to explain how it works. And I think, note to self, I think that's good to really, and maybe the commissions will go up, like I think it might do in a bad market or in a softer market, because as long as they understand that, we co-broke, and that it's their decision to pay whatever they want to the buyer's broker, but then less agents will probably bring their buyers.
Absolutely.
It's fine, and it's going to take a few years. And I'm always, I like all change. I think change is good. We'll see how much this is going to change, and I think it's our job to adapt. And the good brokers are always going to rise to the top. And I'm not worried.
If you're a good real estate agent and you add value to that client, you're going to get paid, because they're going to want to work with you.
That's right.
Sounds good. Okay, so on that note, I do want to open it up to the audience for some questions.
I know some of you have questions. There we go. I see a hand.
There's a lot of people in here.
Hey guys.
Hello.
So what I'm thinking with this commission, if you get the listing, why wouldn't you just offer the buyer referral agreement and then you collect your 6%, but as a referral agreement, you give it to the buyer? Like that's such an easy fix from my point of view.
I just want to clarify. So you said even if you get your 6%, you offer a buyer a referral fee instead of a commission. Is that what you said?
Exactly right. You would just make a referral agreement. Anybody that brings you a buyer, you'll share half of your commission.
Got it.
How is that different than what we're doing now?
Sure. So what the lawsuit is basically trying to do on behalf of the sellers is to say like the seller would only want to offer 3% to the listing agent, and that's it. So if you want to give something from your 3% to the buyers, you know, I guess that would be okay, but they're cutting that piece. I know in New York, they just enacted a rule where the seller is no longer paying, let's say, standard 6% to the broker, and then you split it. Now the seller is saying, I'll pay the 3% to the broker, and I have the option to offer another 3% or 2.5% to the buyer's agent. So I think they're trying to restructure all of that so they don't feel, you know, kind of forced to do and append this system. But we'll see what's going to happen. We're all like really keeping an eye out on this.
We have a question back there. And actually right there, Hannah.
Thank you so much. We keep hearing that Miami is growing and everything is amazing here. And I have a friend in the audience who just texted me that, like you see, everything is better here in Miami. We're real estate agents in New York. Shall we move here and start working, or you guys would approach it differently if you were us? I mean, we built ourselves in New York. We don't know much.
Come here.
Okay.
Take it from me.
Thanks, Fredrik. But overall, like, what agents in New York should do? What the strategy could be?
Sure.
Thank you.
Freddie moved to LA and then to Florida, right? So
Yeah.
where the opportunity is. I moved to Florida in 2006, and everyone told me that I was absolutely insane. And it worked out. I'm happy I made that move. But I think in New York, what we're seeing, you know, there's so many clients moving, obviously, from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. I think it's imperative to establish the relationships. There's so much money in referral fees, I believe, in that connection and network, and just again, I go back to continuing to build trust and relationships with these clients. Like when you sell them a property in New York, please don't just give them a bottle of champagne and wave them off into the sunset. Be like, hey, like, what's next for you? Where are the kids going? Do you want to get a nice pad in Miami or in Aspen? Or, you know, I'm originally from Croatia, so now I'm like, you know, everyone loves Croatia, so I'm like, you know what? I should start a little business over there because, you know, otherwise I have to open a resort to host all my guests. But the bottom line is I think there are so many opportunities really because we're all in the business of relationships, right? And you have your own relationships so you can actually establish and get educated on all these projects. Again, developers are thrilled to pay amazing commissions here that you guys don't get in New York. So just bring them on.
I think the best is to her point, be everywhere all at once. I think that's a movie. And it's not easy. You know, we started expanding our team, and if I knew how hard it was and how much it would cost, we would never have done it. 5 years later, I'm very happy that we did that. And we were lucky because we didn't know that, you know, COVID was going to happen and all these wealthy people are going to move around and it was going to be one big giant market in the end. But, you know, I have on our team, we're 100 agents in 5 states. So we try to represent every market to every client, but specifically to your point, like right now, the energy, and I know I get my contract sign report from the 100 agents every Friday at 3 p.m., and I can see all the contracts, and lately, you know, South Florida beats New York, and that's unusual. So the future is here. What can I say? Sorry, everybody else.
Can I say something about competition and moving here? I don't know the latest stat, but the one thing you need to be mindful of, We are the biggest board in the country, the Realtor Association of Miami. So what does that say? That says that a lot of people love living here and selling real estate, selling the dream, but the competition's brutal. So if I was a New York real estate agent, I'd establish an affiliate or a broker you trust down here, feed them as much clients as you can, work out a good referral fee program, because obviously you're in a feeder market to us, and then wait until your market comes back and keep pounding the pavement there. Competition's brutal here.
I disagree. No, seriously, like, I can speak on this. New York has a camaraderie in the industry, and there's like, because of Rebney and the ethics, I feel like it's a very highbrow environment, and we kept that through all the years. And it's competitive, but it's not so welcoming. LA, on the other hand, is like very catty and a little bit, that industry is very, very difficult. And they keep the key to that like luxury segment, like, oh, they keep the key around their neck and they're not sharing with anybody. If anything, they're gonna push you out when you try to get in. I can really say Miami is very welcoming. I feel like people are happier and they share their happiness in the industry. And yeah, it's competitive, but like, you know, it's a nice, it really is a much nicer industry here.
It's nicer, but our supply of realtors is much higher.
But Dora, I have to
supply
tell
and
you,
demand. I'm a believer in economics.
Dora, I know the competition is fierce at a top, but I also like, you know, out of, let's say, 1.6 million members of the National Association of Realtors, like when I moved to Florida, I'm like, okay, how many of agents with licenses are just there playing mahjong, and we're hustling, you know, working hard. So I think, you know, you have to kind of segment the, you know, the active broker population, right? Don't mind me, because like it happened to me once where I worked so hard for a whole year with a client. I found them the right place. And then he calls me and he's like, oh, you know, Senada, you do pretty well. And, you know, my wife met this really lovely lady the other day, and she just got her real estate license. And, you know, we're going to do her a favor. We're going to, you know, use her to buy this place. And so, of course, I'm not going to share what I said. I said, you know, go ahead and overpay. And if there are any cracks in the seawall, don't call me, because your backyard's going to be gone in about 2 months.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. We really appreciate it. And thank you all for listening.